Welcome to another edition of Phil's Corner. Very excited today to be announcing and launching our new Vensure Staffing Alliance. With us today, we have Rod Smith, President of Shipfillers. We have Dan Mastropolo, Chief Vision Officer for Staffing A to Z, and we have Brian Urso, Vice President of Vensure Staffing Alliance. Rod, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background? I think it'd be collectively a great opportunity for the audience to best understand who you are.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've got a pretty interesting background in many respects. A lot of that time that I've spent over the last 25 years has been around technology for the staffing and recruiting industry. But I've also had the privilege of really kind of working kind of pretty normal jobs as well as managing production teams in a manufacturing environment. So I've kind of taken those skill sets into what I've done over the past, and that includes more recent history in terms of building CRM systems for the cloud-based CRM, as well as the last business I founded was TempBuddy, which was a mobile workforce enablement tool and platform to really kind of drive the efficiency, productivity, and engagement with the worker for what they were doing in staffing and temporary labor.
Great. Well, just so you know, I'm not the technology guy in the room, but I can tell you that what Rod's built and his pedigree comes at a very, very high level, and we're extremely enamored by what he's going to do to help us build out this technology future. Dan, give us a little background on you.
I've been in the staffing industry coming up on over 12 years. I started in a big three firm, grew their what we call general staffing, which was primarily manufacturing, logistics, and kind of the lighter admin side. And then after I exited that, I've actually founded and exited multiple independent staffing companies. So it's been really fun over the last couple of years. I was a commercial broker before I got into staffing. Coming into this relationship, getting the privilege of really being able to stay innovative and on the forefront of trying to push the industry a little bit faster into things that we know we can accomplish.
Brian, a little bit on you.
Yeah, so I'm the Vice President here at Vensure for the Vensure Staffing Alliance program we have that we just recently launched, which is why we're here in the room today. I have a workers' comp background. I was a workers' comp insurance agent for the staffing and PEO industry prior to joining Vensure, and looking forward to new things to come here with this relationship. But I have a workers' comp background that's now focused in the technology space as I'm learning from these guys, so super excited about it.
Great. Well, for the team, and I'll go back to Rod, when we think about technology and we think about the effects and impacts it can have on this industry, can you talk a little bit about how we discuss, we run under it, right? We're building a platform to be able to build to the future. And I always tell people the weak don't apply, right? We have to be forceful, and we have to be able to be committed to execution, disciplined with our processes, and really focused on the future outcomes. So it's pretty neat to work with folks that are visionaries. Can you talk a little bit about the tech side of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, Phil. The one thing that I've seen over the last 20 odd years is that within technology, a lot of people focus internally on what they're doing, internalize the systems, internalize their processes, and actually really they don't think about the impacts of what they're trying to do with technology to the end user, to the client, to the worker in this case. And what I've seen over the past is that focus, that internal focus, means you're actually losing efficiency. So despite the fact that we've got all this technology over the last every decade, we've seen more and more technology come into play, we're actually not seeing a lot of productivity gains internally within this. And that's what I've seen before as well when I last did TempBuddy, and that's what I've seen in how we approach things now. We're very focused on the enablement of the end user and the labor strategy that delivers better performance for the client. And what we've done is we've taken our technology approach to this is saying, how do we achieve a better output on the client level and a better receivable for the worker? And how do we do that and break down all those barriers in between? And that just changes your perspective on technology. So we really are focused on how do you get this streamlined approach to enablement of the workforce, enablement of the actual client.
I think that's fantastic. Being an employer of choice, making sure you're focused on your employees, and we do it across the country in multiple verticals, right? From an HR perspective, we all see the post about employee engagement, how important that is to driving your business, being successful, and it's no different in the staffing lane, right? And I think what you'll hear from the team, and it's so encouraging, is that as we build out technology and as we build out capabilities, it's interesting to see that we're focused on the end user, which is the employee. And we have to have gains there, and I think we've lagged in the staffing world in terms of getting the gains we need to create that engagement at the employee level. And I know, Dan, in your world, it's critically important working with MSPs and others from the fact of how do we get a pool of labor, how do we get people, employees that actually want to come to work every day and want to come to work with this particular agency. Because you elaborate a little bit on your experience with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, we saw this really over the last, 24, 48 months, right? Like, world stopped, but employees, have flexibility at the employer level, right? And that really shifted, a lot of the way that, workers, wanted to be interacted with, but, the last 24 years and post-pandemic, right? People now are realizing the power of flexibility, the power of, being in control of their scheduling. And then also, let's be real, like a lot of people have the Ubers, the DoorDashes of the world, so they're used to getting, instant gratification in their day-to-day, right? So what we really have been focusing on is understanding the DNA, and I've been watching that for over a decade in what we consider our shift worker base, right? And when you really start to study the DNA of these employees and what's important to them, right? It slightly changes through the economic pieces of that, but it's really allowed us to stay innovative in those things and really want to cater to a solution that's drastically needed in the light industrial commoditized space, right? So for me and us as a business, what we've really focused on is how do we get that into the day-to-day, right? So being able to get these people into more of a pool-driven basis, and being able to match skills to customers, but more importantly, right? Technology really works when you bring technology and labor strategy together to deliver for the employee. So for us, it's all about giving people options, making sure that we are keeping them engaged with the brand, with the space, and then also giving people options, not necessarily forcing them to take certain things, but options, because what they need today very different than maybe tomorrow or the next day. And what we've seen is in a worker base and that population, right? Sometimes the reality is they're making a decision to either put food on the table or try to drive with the last penny to get to work, and unfortunately it just shouldn't be like that, right? So we've once again really try to play to those things so that they don't have to make those harder decisions. They can make more decisions day to day versus trying to get to the week or 2 weeks, whatever that case may be, and we're seeing really good results with that, right? We're seeing longer retention of the employee. We see companies, there's an education side to our world, right? So we're trying to get companies to catch up to that, and being able to get to understand that the strategies they've used for the last 10 years, 20 years have to be adapted if they're going to stay competitive in today's workforce. And fortunately for us on Staffing A to Z, we get to have that conversation every single day. That's really what's gotten Brian and I really excited over the last couple of months to launch this and really take that stance.
I think it's pretty interesting that the level of engagement, when you think about employee engagement, employee retention, the fact that in this vertical, you've made a mental commitment and a go-to-market commitment to put what I call aces in the right places, right? When we're recruiting for sales, right, I have certain core competencies I need that individual to possess, not only because I want them to possess it, because I genuinely want them to possess it, because nobody wakes up and goes to work in the morning and is great unless you run to work with a want, will, and desire to do what you love to do. And I think where we fall down sometimes is we have this, hey, I have to go to work, so I've got to take any job that's available to me. And I think that's the wrong go-to-market for that employee. I think it's the wrong go-to-market for our business, for all businesses, right? So I think the fact that the technology, allows for people to really input their core competencies, where they want to play, where they want to go to work, where they want to earn, and then we can match that up with the right people to the right jobs. I think that says a lot to the commitment to staffing in general. So Dan, let's turn to you on the all-important Vensure Supplier Network. Can you give the audience a glimpse of what the Vensure Supplier Network is, how we gave birth to that notion and plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So, from the Staffing A to Z level, we really decided to make a stance as a company and create a company for the MSPs or managed service partners, right? It's been one of the more overlooked, pieces of our industry for a couple of years, right? Like NPS has been really low, supplier saturation that's all-time high, right? And then optimization of that is always a challenge because, we collectively need to get to the volumes to support those things. Well, when we really built that, Shift Fillers as a standalone staffing entity for us really only supports a vendor on-premise, high-volume, on-site model. Our technology is so prevalent that we really wanted to keep the administrative controls there for us to make sure our clients and the MSPs weren't having to administer that. And so that was great for our solution in terms of that being the solution for those types of accounts. But in the reality world of managed service partners, they still need support in small no-name town America, right? And so when we were really evaluating that in our labor strategy and understanding your ecosystem, right, we saw an opportunity to really leverage the existing staffing clients that are in the Vensure ecosystems to be able to actually help drive revenue for them. But really more importantly, that's where this word alliance comes in, right? It's trying to find like-minded companies that didn't have egos just like us, that understood we're working together for, once again, the greater good of the MSP or end clients, and more importantly, the candidates. And so this is where we had the opportunity to work together, Brian and I, to start really looking at that data through a heat map, and then really look at our opportunities that have been pledged to us to start really matching to that. And so that's ultimately how we came up with that. And really early on, we've had some really cool success stories.
That's great, and it's really exciting for all of us. Brian, can you touch on a little bit of that early success and just talk about when we launched and what that might look like?
I think the success or the launch started when we were in the Staffing World Conference in Denver, Colorado, ASA conference. We started speaking to what it was we wanted to do. It wasn't 100% formalized. We were still working on some tech integrations with Rod and how we're going to get the employee of our staffing clients into the technology to clock in and out and then back. And so when we started to have demos at Staffing World, we started to realize that, wow, this is going to be a huge success. We started to get prospective clients. How do I be a part of the network? And so it was a draw, it was a hook for us to get these clients into the Alliance or into the Vensure ecosystem to be able to come on board, whether it be a payroll-only client or a full PEO client where we're doing all the insurance work for them as well. But I think for me, it really came down to when we started to have dialogue with Dan and the Shift Fillers team alongside our clients and a tri-party effect to explain how we're able to do this together and how we all want to come together, drop our barriers, drop our egos, and really deliver this. And when we've been doing that, we haven't had a client say no. So far, it's been yes. And it's a matter of how we can get those employees into these job orders as fast as possible, while also, like we said, not treating them like a commodity. So
just to get very specific, and then I'll turn to you, Rod, I want to point out an example that I just watched from a distance, but when Dan has a job order for under 50 lives, he will not place them through his organization. What he does is it drops down to our, what we're called the supplier network, and Brian turns around and goes to our client base from a geography perspective and said, who's closest? We do an RFI process, and next thing you know, this client gets a reach out from Vensure, and they're able to fill 30 positions. And I can tell you that for a client of ours that's able to fill 30 positions and get 30 job orders, it's been a pretty exciting time and pretty strong upside.
And I think it's important to note that the process of how we do that, so far we've sent 200 or so emails out to specific clients asking for a request for information act. We get that back. That gives us their strengths and weaknesses. And so when these programs come in to the Shift Fillers team and then into the Vensure ecosystem, we're reviewing who can match that particular opportunity. Not only are we matching it by RFI, but we're looking at true payroll ran dollars through the Vensure ecosystem, through our efficient system, to make sure that it matches into that regional area that they can actually support what they're saying they could support. And so we want to make sure we're getting the RFIs for any clients interested in that program so that we can do a reach out and call them when these opportunities come in.
Got it.
I mean, I've been what I find about this whole the ecosystem, the supplier network, and also the work we do at Shift Fillers and Staffing A to Z, is that I feel very super privileged to come into this industry from having been within it as a technology professional, but now also to be much more embedded into the labor strategy, the delivery clients, and that's the supply of the kind of quality work for workers. And being able to come into this and be a really, truly good actor, and being able our understanding that it is to the benefit of everyone involved in the ecosystem to share the, I'm going to say the burden, but also the opportunity of producing and delivering a labor strategy that works for the client, that supports the worker, gives them a high quality of employment, and also doing this using technology to enable that entire process. I mean, that's the critical component here, because anyone could really do the conceptual work of sharing and gathering together a team of like-minded staffing firms, but that's also the technology that allows us and enables us to deliver this on a consistent, repetitive basis, where we deliver high-quality workforce and we deliver to the labor strategy that we promise those clients, and that's what gets those results. And we've seen some really great success recently, and Dan can probably talk to this about where we went into an existing client who had some challenges with their labor strategy, were underfilling and underperforming in the recruitment and retention of their teams, and as a result were not able to keep lines open, and they had to close lines. They also not only had to close lines, they had employees working pretty long hours, and it was hard graft for those people who were supporting America, supporting that client, that company, that's in terms of what they were delivering out of the door of the factories and out of the door of the warehouses. And what we saw was the opportunity to go in there, and yeah, straight out of the bat, shift fillers alone was not able to satisfy the entire need, but then strategically it also didn't make sense to do so. So Dan, you can probably talk to a little bit more than that.
Yeah. No, we got asked to engage with a company up in the Midwest, and literally they were just struggling. I mean, they were short 50 plus people a day. To Rod's point, there was a couple lines that were down, and they just couldn't meet the demand at all. And they also had multiple suppliers. The engagement was really low amongst the supplier piece. So when we got engaged, it was really just to not only deliver on headcount, but also strategy of how do we actually deliver and help them get back to 100% efficiency, right? And so in a short period of time, I mean, we're talking under 6 months. We once again put ego aside. Used a relationship, within the Vensure, network, and essentially, they had the local presence, right? So they were able to make immediate impact in headcount. It gave us our 6 to 8 week, runway for our true implementation to make sure we delivered on our strategy, and really in literally less than 5 months, or right at about 5 months, we have not only have achieved 100% efficiency, we're actually running at 125% efficiency. We eliminated, 3 other suppliers that were really just not doing anything to support the client, to just us and the partner, which now we have 100% of that ecosystem. But more importantly, the client itself in January picked over 1 million cases in the month of January for the first time ever. It never has happened. And so, those are those things where now, it's not just that. We've done that now in 3 or 4 different occasions with similar partners and things of that nature. And I don't care who you are. No company right now is talking about being 100% staffed. It's just not a common.
It's impossible.
Exactly.
It's impossible. But what's fun here is the commitment to excellence and the commitment to the vision. I really appreciate the fact that we're all committed to that, whether it's Vensure, whether it's ship fillers, staffing A to Z, and your client base, MSPs, right down to the worker. I think we think in a perfect world, if we could wake up one day in the staffing vertical and know that the walls are down, silos are down, and that the most important thing is the workers, the employees are busy every day, working in a career that they love to work in, aces in the right places, and share the wealth and remove the ego, I think we'd all agree we'd be in a better spot. Any final statements, Rod?
I mean, I think there's a great opportunity here to do, just like you said, Phil, it's like break down those barriers, create an environment where we're providing the best outcomes for the end clients as well as the workforce. And actually that focus on that and taking those egos out of the picture means that we can achieve this. I mean, but it's something we gotta do together. It's not something any one company can stand alone and do and stand up and say, hey, it's only because of us that everything works. No, it's a team effort. It's how we take this industry forward. I think there's a great opportunity to do so.
For me, it's really simple. It's continuing to be innovative in a space that historically just has stayed pretty stagnant. Not just in staffing, right? In PEO, right? We have the same issues of duplication of data, moving multiple places, and making it more streamlined, more efficient. Never really accepting the fact that this is the way we do it, and it's just the way we do it, and really pushing the boundary to say no. There's other ways to do this. There's other ways to, achieve greatness, and essentially, trying to find those like-minded, people, companies, and working together for the greater good of, let's just call it what it is, America's workforce. I mean, it's so needed. It's really just exciting, but more importantly for us, it's, always staying on the cutting edge of that so we can lead by example and then deliver, on both the candidate and client space.
Agreed. Brian?
Yeah, for me, it's just, I'm excited to be a part of the future. I really believe, that this gig economy or gig space and shift work is going to become the new normal. On top of that, Rod talked a little bit earlier today about, daily pay. Soon it's going to be minute pay, and I think we really believe that it's going to be like the crypto space. And just to be able to get in front of it and realize where that can be and have innovative thoughts and try to get in front of it is going to be super important to our success. I think it's also important to note that the supplier network is just one piece of the alliance that we really have, which really brought us together, I think, from a partnership perspective. But there's a lot more to what we do for the audience, that we can actually deliver on. So.
And we're excited about that piece because we are hoping, again, in the future, to have an impact on the worksite employees from cradle to grave, from the time they apply for a job to the time they get paid, as well as the client from a billing perspective. So our goal in the future is really to be a disruptor, stay ahead of it, enable our worksite employees to do what they do great. And we're really looking forward to growing this opportunity. I'd like to take some time to thank you, Rod. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Brian. It's been a tremendous partnership. For our audience out there, if you're in the staffing vertical, we'd love an opportunity to speak with you. If you're interested in really engaging with a partnership that's focused on the end game, which is create a culture in your organization of more engagement, more retention on the employee side, and to Dan's point, I thought was a great analogy or great comment. We're here to help the American workforce. For anybody interested in learning more about Vensure or Vensure Staffing Alliance, please visit us at vensure.com/VSA. That's vensure.com/VSA. Guys, leave it on the field today. Go and be great. I wish you all the best. Look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care.